Man United, for me, must do every single thing possible. Look behind the back of the sofa, down the side of the fridge, down the side of the bed, wherever. Find the money to bring Viktor Gyokeres. Some of the errors he makes are just so bad. They're so bad. You've got to go. You've got to move on. I don't think he's good enough. Emi Martinez is a really good replacement. So let's be real now. You've got a chance to put that right, Erik. You've got a chance. You've co-signed him. You know how good Antony is. You know how good he can be. Hello and welcome to talkSPORT, the window where we are keeping you bang up to date with all of the transfers across football at the moment. The hottest deals, the hottest rumours. And we're going to start today with my team, Manchester United. And we're going to start in the striker position with Viktor Gyokeres. Because I'm telling you what, guys, I'm telling you now, we have just seen that Jason Wilcox has been promoted to football director. Your job, Jason Wilcox, is to sign Viktor Gyokeres. Man United, for me, must do every single thing possible. Look behind the back of the sofa, down the side of the fridge, down the side of the bed, wherever. Find the money to bring Viktor Gyokeres. The striker situation has been dire at Manchester United. Rasmus Højlund is a sinking ship. He's really struggling. It hasn't worked out. He's under so much pressure. We need a thoroughbred number 9. And here is an opportunity to do it. Apparently, he is available for less than his release clause. Apparently, a deal around 70 million euros would get him to Manchester United, around 59 million pounds, which, listen, in the current climate, for an absolute goal-getter, an absolute player who knows where the back of the net is, the hardest thing to do in football, in my opinion, Man United need to be doing everything they can. I know we'll talk about Bryan Mbeumo later on and other attacking options that they're trying to bring into the football club. But for me, if I'm Jason Wilcox and I've just got that promotion, I'm making that numero uno, primary target now to bring him in. Because for me, we've been waiting so long for the one. You know, we've spent time with Lukaku. We've spent time with Zlatan. We've spent time with Cavani. We've spent time with Odion Ighalo. You know, we spent time with Wout Weghorst trying to find the next striker at Man United, long-term solution. And Viktor Gyokeres could be that. Now, what has been interesting is the discussions around this, right? Because some United fans and neutral fans and people in the media are sort of saying, how are Man United the only ones in for him? If Viktor Gyokeres is that sought after, you know, Arsenal have a decision to make between him and Benjamin Sesko. It looks like they're looking to go with Benjamin Sesko. Napoli are looking for a striker. There hasn't been anything really concrete with Gyokeres. There's been reports about Atletico Madrid. There hasn't been anything concrete with Viktor Gyokeres. Liverpool may be in for a striker. Nothing there. Why is it that he's not sort of batting off competition from everywhere? And listen, I think that we have to be careful with that, because I think when someone has a record like he does, where he's just hitting the back of the net so consistently. Yeah, it's in the Portuguese league, but the record is so strong. Sometimes the deals just don't materialise. Sometimes the bigger teams are looking at different prospects. You know, where's he going to go? Barcelona still got Lewandowski. Why aren't Real Madrid in for him? Got Mbappe. You know, why are Bayern Munich not in for him? They've got Harry Kane. So it's not as easy as that. Why are Arsenal trying to get the more expensive player in Benjamin Sesko with what fits in with Arteta's vision and how he wants to shape that squad? Benjamin Sesko is 22. It's someone that's younger. It's more of a project signing. They can have him there for the next 5 to 6, 7 years. You know, if it goes well, someone they can get their teeth into. I would argue personally that Arsenal needs someone who can hit the ground running now. Some Arsenal fans would argue that get me Gyokeres, he's 27 years old and ready to go. But you look at Man United. Well, why is it a surprise that he wants to go to Man United in this current form? Well, listen, Ruben Amorim is one of the big reasons. Let's be honest. He took him from Coventry to Sporting and made him into what he is now. So that counts for something. You know, our colleague at talkSPORT, as well as other platforms, you know, Ben Jacobs, I've been speaking to him a lot. So has talkSPORT chief football correspondent Alex Crook have been really big on the fact that Amorim is really keen on the player for obvious reasons. And actually, a reunion between the two is not off the cards because, you know, it's not a deal breaker of Champions League football for Viktor Gyokeres. That's what's being reported. And it's the same with Matheus Cunha. It's the same with Bryan Mbeumo. This is not a deal breaker for him. And, rivals can say, how are Man United 15th and being able to get these players? Why would these players want to go to Man United? They haven't got a clue. It's money, 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 money. It's not always that. And I say it all the time on every show that I'm pretty much on. Man United are always hated, adored, never ignored. They're 15th, but there's players like Matheus Cunha who don't want to be shopped around. They're saying to their agent, get me to Man United. Bryan Mbeumo, listen, don't argue with me thinking I'm just a tribal Man United fan. Go and do your own research. There was interest from Spurs. There was interest from Newcastle United. There was interest from Arsenal. But Bryan Mbeumo gives priority to Man United. Some of it is going to be money, but some of it is still that Man United, whether you like it or not, still does have appeal. The fact that you could be the guy to help return Man United back to what it once was is a thing, is a challenge, is something that has currency. And yes, football is a business. Yes, football is about the commercial aspect of the game. Don't get it twisted. Man United have that worldwide pull. So players will be thinking or talking with their agents saying, you know what? If you do go Man United, it's going to open up your commercial opportunities in every aspect. Now, I know that's not why you should be signing a player. You should be worried if a player only wants to come to you for the commercial side. I'm saying let's be smart here and put it all into one when you discuss why a player would want to go to Man United in 15th. And you have to come to the conclusion that it's still Manchester United. If you've got an option of going to Newcastle or Man United, yeah, for footballing reasons, you could say, oh, you're definitely going Newcastle United. No, it's not. It's not that all the time. It's not. Bryan Mbeumo has just proved that. So for Viktor Gyokeres, going from Sporting to Man United, we shouldn't undercook that just because Man United are 15th. Last time I checked, everyone's back to zero again. We're all on 0 points. It's a new season. So if you're saying to Viktor Gyokeres, it's Ruben Amorim, they've kept Bruno Fernandes, they've added Bryan Mbeumo, which we'll wait and see. Matheus Cunha's already there. That's your supply line. What? So my supply lines, Matheus Cunha and Bruno, and Bruno. Matheus Cunha and Bumo, sorry, and Bruno. What? And Ahmad's there. What? He's going to be playing right wing back. He's licking his lips. So listen, I can see why the links are there. And back to my point, I'm not overly concerned that nobody else is in for him, reportedly. The fact of the matter is Man United are crying out. They are in desperate need for a player ready to go now. Liam Delap turned Man United down. No shame in that. Fair enough. Did what's best for his career. But I had reservations about a 22-year-old coming in. Big pressure. Yes, he's got 12 goals in the league for Ipswich in a relegated side, which is really good going in his first season in the Prem. But we've been there with Rasmus Højlund, young up-and-coming player. You don't want that. I want a Victor Osimhen or a Viktor Gyokeres. So for me, Jason Wilcox, go and get one of the Victors, mate, because Victor Osimhen is also on the market as well. And according to reports, Ben Jacobs et al., that move is looking ominous to Al Hilal. He still can't agree wages, where even Galatasaray are trying to lock him down on a permanent. And last time I checked, Galatasaray can't afford 700 grand a week wages. So what's going on there with Victor Osimhen? Is there another market opportunity? You got 2 Victors, Jason. Sign one of them. I think Bryan Mbeumo is very essential as well to what Man United are trying to do. The price, yes, of course, I think initially rejected with 45 plus 5 million add-ons, which is a smart thing to do. Brentford are entertaining bids, and most of all, Bryan Mbeumo has chosen Man United. He's given priority to Man United. He wants to leave. So it gives us a bit of leverage. But you have to think about the leverage that Brentford also has. I know a lot of United fans and fans in general are saying, he's only got a year left on his deal. Why are you going to pay so much money? But the reality is, he has a year left on his deal with an option for a further 12 months. So in essence, he actually has 2 years left on his deal. Brentford don't need to be bullied into just accepting the fee that they don't think's right. They could be kind of mean about this. I know it's probably not in Brentford's style, but football is football, business is business, right? They could say, I tell you what, Brian, we're going to trigger that extension right now. We're going to trigger it. You now have 2 years left on your deal. So this 60 million doesn't look that crazy, does it? So I can understand why Brentford are doing that. And you see how they operate with the Ivan Toney situation. They got what they wanted in the end. It was quoted for 100 million. Then the situation happened with him being banned. So it went down to a modest 40, but they still got, decent money for him. So I don't think Brentford are going to be bullied. They're a well-run football club. And Man United have to accept that. But you have to pay, not top dollar, but you have to pay decent money for players that are coming from within the division. who know the division well, who perform well in the Premier League, and Bryan Mbeumo gets to that. I think in terms of what I'd be happy with, I think a 50 to 55 with some add-ons is going to be sufficient. I think if it's any more than 50, 55 up front, I'm starting to look a little bit, say, what's happening here? I think if you offered Brentford 55 million with 5 to 10 million in add-ons that are achievable, then I think that's fair. One thing we always forget about add-ons is nobody really cares about them when you have to pay them, because it means that the team's doing well. It means that the player's done well. He's reached his performance-based objectives. He's reached the club objectives, and maybe Man United are in the Champions League, and that's one of the add-ons. So it's like, great, no problem. We'll pay that. We're looking all right. Like with Rasmus Højlund, those add-ons that took that deal to 74 million plus, we ain't going to hit them, are we? He's been rubbish. So I think I think with Bryan Mbeumo, it's a player who really excites me. I've really liked him for a long time. I think he works really, really hard. You need that. He's got that steel. He's got that physicality that Man United are really, really missing. And I think it's mouthwatering. When you think about what the possibilities could be, if you're talking about Bryan Mbeumo, right 10, Matheus Cunha, left 10. Bruno's been playing a little bit further back during last season anyway, but he does need a proper midfield partner. But, Bruno's somewhere in the team as well. And a proper striker in there. Mouthwatering, and for far too long, Man United have kind of come away from buying from within the league. I don't think it's a coincidence. You look at Jason Wilcox now and Christian Vavell and the decision makers at Man United. It's no coincidence that Cunha and Mbeumo were the first two that they're trying to get, and then it was Liam Delap before that. All Premier League proven players, especially with Matheus Cunha and Bryan Mbeumo more so. And I think when you look at what a lot of clubs have done to stabilise or get back to being competitive, buy from within the league. It's something that Sir Alex Ferguson used to do all the time. He used to go and get the best from the rest. It was Berbatov, it was Carrick, it was Andy Cole if you go further back, it was Dwight York if you go further back, it was Robin van Persie if you come a little bit forward from that, it was Wayne Rooney. So let's not act like this isn't a thing that happens. Look at Arsenal in their rebuild. They've bought players from Brentford, Brighton, West Ham, Sheffield United, in the quest to them getting to where they are now. So no shame in that. And I think Man United need to take off this hat of, we're Man United. Can't sign a player from Brentford. Can't sign a player from Wolves. Absolutely can. It's been done in the past and been proven a very good formula. And you eradicate that risk factor of, coming in from Serie A, coming in from Liga, the adaptation period. If you get Bryan Mbeumo, he's straight at it. He's adaptable as well. You've seen in Thomas Frank's system, there's been times where Brentford have played 3-5-2. He's been one of the two up front. There's been times where multiple times, of course, he's been playing on the right. There's been times he's been playing as a 10 or a second striker just off the front. He's very adaptable. And Man United need to not buy players who are just suited for a 3-4-3. They need to focus on just buying good players, so that if something happens with Ruben Amorim, which I hope it doesn't, but it doesn't work out for him and he leaves the football club, Matheus Cunha is adaptable, Bryan Mbeumo is adaptable, and if you get a proper striker, he's adaptable, whether you play 4-2-3-1, 4-3-3, 4-4-2, or 3-4-3. It doesn't matter. He's just a good player. And to me, Bryan Mbeumo makes big sense for us to sign. And for me, we've got to get that deal over the line. I think goalkeeper is a massive issue for Man United. Huge issue. Onana's not good enough. I think he's been given a chance for 2 seasons now, and it's not going to get any better. The errors that he makes, he's not going to be able to scrub out of his game at this age. I think he's 27, 28 now, I believe Onana is. And it's some of the errors he makes are just so bad. They're so bad. He's got to go. He's got to move on. I don't think he's good enough. Emi Martinez is a really good replacement. I mean, listen, my good friend Dan Bardell on the show that we do on the social, we've had a back and forth about him, because I just like to wind him up and say that Emi Martinez isn't that good. If he comes to Man United, all that will be going out the window, and he will go back to being the best goalkeeper in the world, World Cup winner, Copa America winner, etc. FIFA Team of the Years, you name it. Emi Martinez is that. That wasn't what I was saying to him on the last game of the season when he got sent off for absolutely body checking Rasmus Højlund. I was not as complimentary for him, but all of that will go out of the window. He's a very, very competent goalkeeper. He's got big character. I think he's 32 years of age now. So he's in a good spot as a goalkeeper, arguably in his prime. I think Villa will be gutted to lose him. That they've got PSR issues, which is another story for another day. But there's an opportunity there, and I think if there's an opportunity there, Manchester United have to be at the table to get him. The only thing that worries me, well, that's not worries me, it's just being realistic, is where Manchester United are at financially. If we're being honest, I don't think it's the priority that maybe the fans think it is internally. I think that if we have to have big resources to get Viktor Gyokeres or a striker, you might be wanting for some funds unless we get really creative and get some really impressive outgoings. Now it's all about outgoings for Man United. We know we can get Bryan Mbeumo and Matheus Cunha already in before we get the significant outgoings. Now we need to see what happens with Marcus Rashford. We need to see what happens with Antony. We need to see what happens with Ganacho, with Sancho, with Rasmus Højlund. And of course, can you get Onana out the door as well? Andre Onana strikes me as a player, as a personality. I've spent time around him. I've interviewed him quite a few times. I know the character of him. He's a really good guy, and he's a very confident guy. I think if Manchester United say to him, we're bringing in this keeper to compete with you, or we're bringing in this keeper to be number one, I think Onana says, no problem, my friend. I'll speak to my agent. I'll find another club. I believe in myself. I need to be number one somewhere. So I think that could happen as well. I think he's probably too proud to sit and compete with someone, Andre Onana. I think he's too chilled to sort of be like, oh, what am I going to do? He'll just ring his agent and say, we're going, which might help Man United. But I'm just not sure. I mean, he's available for about 25 to 30 million pounds, I think, is being reported as the figures that it would take to get Emi Martinez out of Villa. But again, you can exploit an opportunity because Villa look like they've got PSR problems and need to sell. I'm for it. We need a new goalkeeper. For me, the need of a goalkeeper in terms of priority shot straight up from like 5 to like 1. I'll be honest, alongside a striker, I think striker and goalkeeper are two of the most important positions for Man United to address. It's just been an absolute horror show. And I think we should definitely try to get Emi Martinez or somebody else instead of Andre Onana. In terms of Antony, this is a big situation because Erik Ten Hag, mate, you created this. You spent 700 million on players, right? And we're scratching our heads as to what we got for that money. You know, Antony, big money, excuse me, hasn't worked out. Mason Mount, big money thus far, hasn't worked out. Give him the number 7 shirt. Rasmus Højlund, big money, really wanted him, hasn't worked out. Lisandro Martinez, I like him, good player. Big injuries now. You're looking at that, saying what's going on there. So there's a lot that Ten Hag has got his fingerprints on that you're going, hasn't, Casemiro, big wages, you know, can't shift him. So let's be real now. You've got a chance to put that right, Erik. You've got a chance. You've co-signed him. You know how good Antony is. You know how good he can be. This is the perfect opportunity for him to have the redemption. He's been really good at Betis, to be fair to him. Got the hunger back, got the confidence back. Do the right thing, do the gentleman thing, and help us out. Help fix the mistakes that you made. I think it'll be a great move. And, you know, if Liverpool get their skates on and take Florian Wirtz, there'll be a gaping hole in that side. Now, listen, as a like for like, they're incomparable. Not just on ability, but also the position they play. Antony, you know, a wide winger on the right-hand side. But I think it's something that, again, Man United need to be creative about because they need the funds. They need it. They're going to take a loss on Antony. Of course, he was £80 million. But for me, they need to start getting players out. And as is the same at United, we struggle to sell players. So it's almost like an initiation period where you have to begin the exit period with a loan. Then they come back, get the price up. Sancho's done it. Rashford's done it. Antony's now done it because it's so hard to just go, this player's for sale. Someone comes and goes, great. What a great opportunity it is to sign that player on 320 grand a week, which we can't afford. And they've got a couple of years left. You usually have to get a loan with an option or obligation. And even the obligation with Jadon Sancho, Chelsea didn't even take the obligation. They paid a fine to send him back. They paid a penalty to give him back to Man United. So that just shows how poor Man United are at selling players. So we've really got to get better at that. And Antony needs to leave the football club. And actually for him, he's had a really tough time. You know, I saw him do an interview saying how hard it was when he was at United and how difficult he found it. And it was really refreshing to see him playing well at Betis. So I hope he does get a move, you know, all jokes aside, because there's clearly something in there, you know, but you got confidence playing at Ajax and you get to United and he's literally billed as pound for pound, probably the worst signing there's ever been alongside Mykhailo Mudryk. So, it's not been easy for him. It's been horrible. So I do hope he gets that move, and Erik ten Hag can help Man United do that. It's a difficult one with Ganacho. I think it's been made clear to him that he's needs to find a new club. According to reports, Ruben Amorim told him in face to face in front of the rest of the squad that he needs to find a new club. Whether or not those words exactly are true to the letter, but I think it's clear that Ganacho isn't really getting on with Amorim. He doesn't really fit the system. I'm a bit torn on this one because on one hand, if you look at players his age, 20 years old in European football, you look into numbers of Desiree Doué and Lamine Yamal as youngsters that are, in terms of goal involvements that are doing what Ganacho has done. Does he frustrate? Yes, he does. Has he got time to grow? Yes, he does. Has he had a few mishaps with his attitude? Yes, but he's 20 years of age, and I just think he's been a victim of being overused from a really early age. I mean, he's come through the academy in his breakout season and his second season last year, when it was supposed to be Antony, Sancho, and Rashford as the main heavy lifters, as the senior players. Where were they? It was this young kid, Ganacho, who had to play on the left, who had to play on the right, who had to do an awful lot of heavy lifting. I remember at one point last year, Ganacho had started like 33 games in a row at 19. So again, you talk about the environment at Man United and the stresses of which it puts upon its young players really, really early. I feel for Ganacho a little bit. And then the managers come in and played this system, and he's still getting to grips with trying to be a proficient wide winger, and anything good that Man United do tend to do, which wasn't much last season because it was terrible, it's Bruno, and then it was Ganacho. So I don't know, but I think, but then when you look at what you can rebuild with the money you can get from him and the financial position Man United are in, is he irreplaceable? No, he's not. He's not. If you're saying you're taking out Garnacho and you're putting in Mateus Cunha, it's an instant upgrade, isn't it? So I think it's a difficult situation. I think when you put it all together, it's probably best he moves. But I'm not in the camp of Garnacho's going to move and not be a good player. I could see him at Napoli tearing it up like Scott McTominay. I could see him at Atletico Madrid doing numbers and doing well, competing for titles. I could see him doing well at Chelsea if he played on the left-hand side. So it would be another one where when he leaves, yes, he's replaceable. So I think we could go in the right direction if we recruit well. But some Man United fans will be like, and what? We said that he was a problem. Look at him now. But I do think with the money you can get for him, which I think is important for Man United to look for like 50, 60 million pounds. I know some Man United fans will be like, I drive him to the airport. I drive him down the M6 for 40 million pounds. No. When you look at so many players who leave, we need to get better at sailing. And this is a young player on the up who's shown some promise. Pay up. And that is Ineos's job to get as much money for him as possible.